Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Petty Officer Benjamin Hale. We warmly welcome the family of Trooper John Hugh McRae, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We warmly welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Trooper John Hugh McRae. John Hugh McRae was born in 1893 in Windsor, Victoria, to William Hugh and Mary McRae. He was one of 6 children. The McRae family moved to Ardlethan, a mining town in New South Wales, while John, who was known by all as Jack, was still young. He attended school locally, and by the time the First World War began, he was working as a grocer. McRae enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 30th of October 1914. After completing his initial training, he was allotted to reinforcements to the 1st Light Horse Regiment. He embarked from Sydney on the 8th of February 1915 aboard the troop ship Anglo-Egyptian, bound for Egypt. After several months of training in Egypt, McRae and his comrades were sent to Gallipoli in mid-July. Here, he was taken on strength of the 1st Light Horse Regiment and joined A Squadron. By this time, the Gallipoli campaign was a stalemate, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. In an effort to return to a mobile campaign, Allied leaders decided to launch a series of attacks to break out of the Gallipoli beachhead and resume the advance on the Dardanelles. As part of these operations, 200 men of the 1st Light Horse Regiment, including McRae, were tasked with mounting an attack from their positions at Pope's Post on the Ottoman trenches opposite them. They were to attack at 4:30 on the morning of the 7th of August. At the same time, their comrades at the Neck would begin their attack. The August offensive opened on the evening of the 6th of August, when the Australian attack on Lone Pine began. At 4:30, the attack at the Neck began. Simultaneously, the men of the 1st Light Horse Regiment began their attack. Led by B and C squadrons, the Australians quickly reached the 3rd line of Ottoman trenches, but their losses were heavy. A Squadron followed in the early light of dawn. Ottoman machine gun fire and rifle fire wreaked further havoc on the Australians as they advanced. It is likely that McRae was shot in the thigh as A Squadron advanced. The only officer to survive the battle, unwounded, was Major William Glasgow, who had led his men in the initial attack. Having observed the failure of the attack at the Neck and a nearby attack from Quinn's Post, and with mounting pressures on his own gains, he ordered his men to retire some 2 hours after the attack began. The attack was a costly failure, with 147 of the 200 men involved becoming casualties. McRae was evacuated to a hospital ship and transported to Malta, where he was admitted to the Florina Barracks Hospital. Here, his wound proved mortal, and he died on the 15th of August. Laid to rest 2 days later on the Adelaide Cemetery, John McRae was 22 years old. The epitaph added to his headstone by his parents reads, "Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper John Hugh McRae, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. And we wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.